Dads, if you've been thinking about enrolling your kids in music lessons, this is the segment for you. I'm here with Sophie to talk about the viola, violin and piano. Sophie, how'd you get into music?
Well, I started by having singing and dancing lessons, but that wasn't quite me. So we had a piano in the house, and at the time all my parents could afford was to give me piano lessons, as we already had the instrument. So we looked up the local paper, and fortunately the teacher that we found just locally was an absolute inspiration. Joan Simons was her name, and I'm still very good friends with her, very special relationship there. And from there she used to have lots of recitals for her students where you could get together and play for each other, and lots of the other children learnt a second instrument at their schools. So one girl played the viola, and I thought, that's it, that's what I want to do with my life. So we're going to try D major today. Let's try D major scale with the bow. Good. Put the bow on the string and go to the A string. So remember when we talked about these levels, there's only 4 levels on the violin. G, D, A, what's the last one?
A. Good.
Okay, so when we go to the A string, we need to take the elbow here lower. Otherwise, when we go to the A string, we're trying to play, we keep hitting, that's not the string I want. But if I go right over with my elbow, that's the one we want.
Now, what about the kids who want to play more than one instrument? Do you encourage that, or do you think it's best to stick to just one to start off with?
Okay, well, the number one instrument to start with, really, I cannot stress this enough, is the piano. If you've learnt the piano, what you're actually training your eye to do is, and physically you're learning to coordinate the same action in both hands, and you're reading 2 lines of music at once. You're reading the line that the right hand plays and the left hand plays. So once you're developing that level of coordination in terms of your eye and physically, you're on the right track. Then to go and add another instrument is fantastic. So if you want to learn the trombone, you already understand that where that fits in terms of the big picture, because the piano is almost like replaces an orchestra. If you were going to play an instrument, you're learning sort of the full spectrum of everything when you're learning the piano. So the other instruments are almost like the icing on the cake. So certainly, if you want to learn 2 instruments, try and make it the piano and one other instrument, orchestral instrument, because that opens up lots of things. It's opening up learning the basic theory of music on the piano, but also then you're going to open up all these social possibilities by being in an orchestra, which is a fantastic experience for anyone, from baby kids orchestras.
2, 3, 4.
Yay! This is much better. I'm really happy with how you joined this.
Now, how often do you recommend kids have music lessons?
Okay, well, a good question. Once a week at the minimum. As soon as you have any situation where you're missing lessons for this and that, that's where it limits the child's possibility of progress.
Now, my child's interested in taking music classes. How do I find a good teacher? What are the signs? What sort of qualifications do I look for?
Okay, well, there's always, in finding a teacher, there's always 2 ways to go. First of all, you can contact, look for a performer that is perhaps, like in my situation, I'm predominantly a performer. I've worked with the West Australian Symphony Orchestra for the last 5 years, just moved back to Melbourne working as a freelance with Melbourne Symphony. So I've actually gone down the performers road, and I augment that with a small amount of students, which I really love. But there's some people that actually teach full-time and don't, have time for the performing aspect of music. So there's a few websites to go to. You could look up your Yellow Pages, or you could contact your local music school. For example, the College of the Arts have a service that you can find teachers there. There's also the Victorian Music Teachers Register, which is a fantastic one. They have a service where you can actually look up what the person's done. It's got a link to their website, or you could contact people at the Victorian College of the Arts who teach and get direct recommendations from them. Melbourne Symphony Orchestra will also help in that direction.
Now, I know we're a Melbourne-based show, but nationally, for the people up in Queensland or Western Australia, where can they go to?
Okay, a good question. Again, if you contact your local conservatorium or local symphony orchestra, they will point you in the right direction. There are, I'm sure, equivalent websites of the Victorian Music Register that would be there, but if you go to the top, go the highest, Queensland Conservatorium, why not start there? There's, you know, people that are really skilled there that know that there's people who would have the time and want to teach young children. So certainly go to your conservatorium, symphony orchestra. That's good. Okay, now when we move to the A string, take the whole arm down. That's good. And back to the D string. And once more to the A string. Down with the elbow. Beautiful. Fantastic. Really good.
Now you found your music teacher. What about the instrument? Is second hand versus first hand? I mean, where do you look?
Look, I will mention this because this question mostly gets asked to me when people are buying a violin, okay? So if you go down to your local music shop where they're selling brand new instruments, all the violins look glossy, and sometimes that can be really deceptive because people are going for the visuals rather than for what it sounds like. Now, if you can pick up your local, say in Perth it's the Crocker, or here in Melbourne it's the Trading Post, the equivalent of a second-hand newspaper where you can pick up second-hand bargains, if all you have to do is find out what the size of the instrument is that you need. So if you go to your teacher first, they can usually help you with that. They might have a few different sizes themselves. But once you know the size, you could easily go and buy a second-hand instrument because the quality of difference, the amount of difference between the quality of a brand new instrument and a second-hand instrument is so minimal. It's only when you really start paying in the thousands for someone that's going to pursue it as a career that you can hear a dramatic difference.
Thank you so much for your time today, Sophie.
Thanks, Sarah. And look, to all the parents out there, seriously, music has taught me such a fantastic discipline for life. It's really made learning things in other disciplines much easier. So it's a fantastic way to get your kid off the streets, learning something really good to inspire them to do many things in life, travel and socialise with lots of great people. Being creative is a fantastic thing to add to your life. Get out there and give it a try.